Evening all. Hopefully you can hear me. First time I've ever done anything like this that's not behind deck, so we'll see how it goes. Let me just see if I can go up for now. Second. Yeah, I'm gonna do I can see there's a couple of people tuned in already. If you've got any questions at all, feel free to stop and just ask questions in the live chat and I'll answer whatever I can for you. It looks like we've got about 3-4 viewers at the moment. So hello to everyone. Hello Matt. How you doing? Got messages. So being told there's no audio. Can anyone get on the chat and just confirm whether they can hear me or not? Ah, cool. Thanks, Matt. Cheers. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a bit about Reaper. I'm also just going to show you how I worked on one of my tracks called Lion that was on Skeleton Recordings. Came out, I think it was last year. Can't even remember. It was a while back. Yeah, it's a track that I made in quite a rush because I'd sent Brian a couple of tunes and he wanted something different. So I sent him, I put this tune together in a couple of days, sent it off to him, and he liked it and released it. It came out on vinyl. So yeah, but I'll just give you a quick tour around the studio. So that's why I've just zoomed in on the camera. So this is my soundproof room built in my garage. It's got like 8-inch thick walls. There's some gear that I don't really use very often, but when I need to, I make sounds and samples or whatever. Got my decks, skeleton recordings on the decks. Record collection, 1,000 records, mostly jungle, old school stuff. Some new bits as well. WA poster on the wall. Anyone that knows me, seen these photos of my video many times anyway. And then today I've just set up 2 screens. They were giving away some screens at work, so I thought, well, might as well grab a couple. I've got Tannoy 8-inch precision 8s. Love these speakers, had them for a long time, had them for about 14 years. Yeah, I don't really like powered speakers, so I'm running them off an amp. I've got a UAD Follow Twin, which I do all my DSP processing in. The name DSP came about before I started using UAD plugins in 2004, but it matches DSP. This is my Novation Ultra Nova, which is a bit strange at the moment. Weird stuff on screen, but it still works. But I'm just using it as a controller today anyway. Microphone up here. Go SE X1. So X1. Got a Seal Opera Synth 1984. A little bit younger than I am, just about. So yeah, I'm gonna zoom this back out now. Bass constantly. But yeah, like I say, any questions at all, just ask on the chat and I'll answer whatever I can for you. Hopefully you can see my screen now, which is Reaper. So I'm just going to run through a little bit of Reaper because a lot of people ask me about it because I'm always telling them how great it is and it costs $60 and I make all my tunes in it. I broadcast my radio shows through it. There's lots of reasons I use Reaper, mostly because it's so customizable, so decent basically, such a small amount of money. Yeah, and I've learned it inside out. I've customized it exactly how I want it. So yeah, that's what happened. So in the preferences, I'm not going to go through all the preferences right now. I might do some videos later on, but there's a couple of other people that do videos out there. John Tidy's one. So yeah, so this is the track Lion. So I'm just going to play the intro strings. If you haven't heard it, you'll be able to find it. I'll put a link up afterwards if you want to hear the whole track in its entirety. But I doubt I'm going to sit here just clicking play on the whole thing. Yeah, So the strings basically took off an old synth. Can't remember what it was, to be honest. I take a lot of samples off of keyboards, and then I just use them. And I've been doing that for like 25 years. So I've got samples that I just pick up. For this particular tune, I don't usually use a sampler anymore. I used to use short circuit for everything, which I still have. I still use it, but I don't use it so much. But on this particular tune, I actually recycled a lot of samples that I already had to make the tune because I needed to work quickly. And yeah, strangely, when I've got a deadline, I managed to get stuff done. So yeah, so I just put it into short circuit here. See, just the same, the sample with some loop points on it, so it plays on for ages. And a little bit into the actual channel itself. So that's just the MIDI track there. Like I say, this isn't normal for me. I've normally got everything in audio. You'll see a bit later I have got plenty in audio still. Although this is quite a basic track. It's not exactly made in the way I make most of them do nowadays. It's a track and it's done. So yeah, I'll go to the mixer and find that string. In sounds to it. Also, because I've split MIDI and audio, I usually would have it all in a single audio channel. You see, I've got some automation going on here. So yes, solo, I'm probably knocking my own voice out. So sorry for that, people. I'll do that again. Okay, so you should still be able to hear me, hopefully. Just like a little bit of high pass, the automation there. Not doing a great deal. There, Yeah, that was the string. Really simple stuff, nothing complicated going on here. Um, Again, in Reaper, there's a lot of stuff I do quite often. Like I say, I always work in audio. I can quite easily just split audio into wherever I want. So I work with my breaks quite often in audio. Just so happens this track I haven't done. But yeah, so this hi-hats. That I basically stole from an earlier project in Cubase. I used to use Cubase up until about 2010, and then I switched to Reaper. It took me about 6 months to do the switch. Um, but yeah, so these I made with the Embracer plugin, Reaper. And at the time, I think they were 173 BPM, as you see the name here. But what I did, Reaper's time stretching. So I literally just dragged out audio to be right speed. To that. Say quickly. Again, we'll just see what's going on with that. Let's just go into my bus, and it's no effects really going on there, just a bit of EQ to take out the bottom end. And it's just the same thing but doubled up with slightly different sound. Okay, so the drums, basically, again, these are actually in audio, but I bounced what I'd already sequenced. If I remember rightly, drums are a bit nasty, so I had to do quite a bit of processing. I think that's why I bounced them so much. I look again in the mixer, solo myself. Drums. I show some of the effects that are going on this channel. So if I took them all off, you'll hear how bad it was. It's quite flat and over bassy, so I use the built-in EQ to cut some of the bottom end, but boost at 100 hertz. Then we've got the valve filter, which later on something I just automated in there. The BX limiter, my favourite limiter is actually on the UAG, but to save processing power, sometimes I just chuck on the X1. Don't have to waste my processing power on the and then re-EQ, which I'm not even using for EQ, I'm just using volume control. That's that. Okay, so the bass, well, I've been using this same sine wave bass for 25 years. I think I made it in Soundforge. No, it wasn't 25. It was 1998 I made the bass. So 20 years I've been using the same sine wave. I made it in Soundforge, and I've just distorted it up over the years. So again, in this particular tune, I just used short circuit because I was reusing things I'd already put together. Okay, so quite heavily harmonic. just been told the microphone kept going out. I think that was me just being stupid and forgetting to do the solo on there. I'm going to have to find a better way around for doing that. So, yeah, so the bass, let me just have a look where I've put that. Yes, so back circuit, going to bus. This is my Licia compressor. Now and then, I've got some Pole Tech on. Actually, not much on that. Quite often I find this. I think I've done a load of work to something. Find that I either did it previously, sampled it. Yeah, I keep my projects quite simple, to be honest. If you look at this, there's not a massive amount of plugins running. Like I say, a lot of the stuff comes together on the bus. I do have a parallel channel there, actually. So this parallel channel has actually a fair bit. I've taken the bass out, got this preamp thing which just adds some distortion. For some reason I can't play. UAD oxide tape. Again, overdriving hell out of it. Saturation knob as well, and then I've literally belled it, so it's got no bass and no top end, just mostly mid range. And then the volume of it, I've got really low. So if you look here, it's like minus 40 dB, so it's very quiet, but it just adds a layer of harmonics to the top end sub. So let's go back. Good. Here we go. If I remember rightly, when I made this, when I came to mix it down, it was an absolute nightmare with resonances going all over the place. So I had to do loads of automation to stop the levels going crazy. So here, there's like I've automated the low pass frequency on the EQ, and then I've switched on the filter and done the low pass filter on there. But then I've had to dip the volume as well. So here, I've just basically turn the volume down as the filter's cutting in so that it doesn't deafen. Some pretty nasty resonance going on. So yeah, and then we go for this little breakdown. And I've not actually covered the vocal at all, have I? Let's have a quick listen to that. Oh, got a delay on there. That's on my delay bus. I completely forgot to. There you see that I've basically got two buses, one with a slower delay than the other one. Not doing any clever automation, nothing. Literally sending that track delay buses set up. Then when the amen drops, I'm going to cover that in a minute, but the amen is me being lazier than I've ever been in a long time. But it achieved exactly what I needed to achieve. But I'm going to cover that in a minute because it's quite a subject to go on. Then if we go to the actual bass drop. So it's like a variation, the same sine wave bass there, but on when it drops, I actually have this other bass coming, like basically like a Reese. If I show you in circuit what it looks like, I think I've put two together and detuned them. Exactly what I've done. But if I was to detune them a bit differently, there really doesn't have to be any special clever stuff. Sometimes I see people do stuff online and they make it so complicated. Literally no need. So yeah, I've got it's an 808 kick that again I think I put together in Soundforge a long time ago, or I might have made it on the Virus, I can't remember. I just put it in the sampler, loaded that up twice, detuned one of them. Look, no EQ. It's going through the Britson channel, but I've not added any distortion, nothing to that. It comes out. No rocket science involved whatsoever. Ever. There's another bass. Another 808 bass I've used forever. Going through the same bus, exactly processed the same way as the other one, so really distorting like the middle, not even the top end. If I look at it in the sampler, bass out. Same bass again. Yeah, 1808 Tom. Wow. Yeah. That well. Don't always use it as simply as I have here, but times. Okay, so not seeing any questions come up. If anyone has got any questions or anything they want to know about Reaper, because I use it all the time. So if you have questions, you need to let me know because I don't really know what to show my head. See, we might add about chat enough. Okay, so we're going to move on to the amen. So I just look in mixer again. So there's a number of different amens going on in here. So to explain the proper laziness that achieved the effects I required, I made the amen in Reaper in audio, the Dillinger amen, but what I then did is resampled it at the speed of the project, 175 BPM. Quite fast. I know I've actually slowed my tune down since then. Basically, if I go into here, first amen or the main amen, this is what it's doing. Oh, no, that's not it. Hold on. Right thing. Yep. What I did I wanted to make it the way that people used to do it back in the day, like they did on the 950 or on the Amiga or any of that kind of stuff. Basically took that one Amen, I made it sound how I wanted it to sound, and then I bounced it to audio. Then, because it was at the right speed of the project, which is 175 BPM, I then copied the sample like 8 times, and then I made it start at different points. So you'll see each of these, same sample exactly, same output, just a different key on the keyboard. But what I wanted to do to make it proper old sounding was I started putting loops on. So this one I put a filter on. So if I'll just play it without the filter. That's literally what people used to do, and they'd do this. And all that kind of stuff. All pretty clever and lazy, I guess. But yeah, so what I then did is I got a filter. So I put filter on, 4-pole saturated filter, overdrove it a bit. Then I put an assignment. So here we've got step LFO. I actually put an LFO on the filter. So what happens is once you play it, the LFO kicks in, brings the filter in. Like so. But then I did some other stuff, like I assigned the LFO to the mod wheel, which later on in the tune happens. And like one of the things that most people have told me they love about this tune was the one part, there's like 1 2-second bit where the filter goes like that. And yeah, it took no effort at all to set up, and it had quite a big effect. So that's the first Amen. I'll run through the sequences, but this is the next one, which is basically the same Amen but a time stretched and then resampled. It's at a different pitch as well. Same thing with the filters though. I'll just show you my fingers, literally. Yeah, back in the day, that's how people like Dillinger, Photech, they all did it. They all just resampled their breaks, put them on keys, and they just played away. It's actually a really effective way of coming up with patterns you wouldn't think of if you were just programming them, because you can just press record, start bashing away on the keys. Yeah, with the actual programming of the Amen, again, if you look in here, it's really basic. But I did spend quite a lot of time programming it, to be honest. Straightforward bit of programming. I love doing like the doubling up. So you start an Amen that starts with a kick at the same time as starting one that starts with a snare, or a hi-hat, whatever. Then they sort of bounce off each other. Something that I think was invented by Busy Bee, because he do that all the time in tunes back in 2s, 3s. So we've got some like random effects. Actually, a mate of mine, Rob, actually helped out with some of these effects. I used them in a different tune altogether. I don't know whether it got finished. It might have got finished. Can't remember. But anyway, I reused them because again, I was on a tight deadline. Brian wanted a track from me. I thought, well, I've got a track I started like 12 years ago, which some of the main components of this tune actually came from. But it was a different break altogether. It's like a funky mule, whatever. But yeah, so I just smashed it all together, the parts you can see. So yeah, some of the effects I've got going on. I quite often reuse channels as well, so I won't necessarily set a separate channel up for every different sound. I like to work as efficiently as possible. So, as you can see here, other than the MIDI, I've only actually got 6 channels of audio. Some have got effects on, some haven't. Some I automate the effects on and off, some I don't. Just depends what I'm doing at the time. A lot of my projects end up with less than 10 to 12 channels in total. And yeah, I just work around in the way that I need to. Some channels won't have any bass in, so I can use them for more vocals and stuff like that. But yeah, the effects I've got, I'm just going to run through these. Just bits out of films. Running with like bit crushers and stuff. And here we've got reverse O-line. So all I did is I took the O-line, put a reverb on it, and then reversed it. It's a really old school trick. If I reverse this, I'll just show you what it sounds like. Well, not normally. Round. But yeah, all I did was I took that and I bounced a whole load of reverb on it, and then I reversed it. Really old school. They used to do that in like the 80s. Those 80s synth bands and stuff used to reverse them. I've been talking about Reaper. One of the things I love the most about Reaper, and I've been doing this for the last 8 years using it basically, don't even need to use a sampler at the time. I'll just get the sound, then I can just transpose it. I've got a key set up for it. So I can actually play melodies or whatever I want. And quite often, that's how a lot of my tunes start. Is I'm just in audio, I've got a sound, and I start picking up and down. Yeah, I'm just going to go back up now. So there's not a lot of automation as far as the drums are concerned. I did it all with MIDI, just using the mod wheel. So just the same bits I showed you earlier. So you'll see here in the track, like some of the modulation. That's the part that they like about it. So let's. Yeah, so a lot of the time I think people do overcomplicate things a lot. There's no need to. Sometimes you just need to get an idea down and you need to do it the quickest way possible. And if you have to program every single little thing and not leave anything to chance, I think it gets a bit boring, to be honest. So, yeah, this whole tune came together because I literally didn't have any major plan. I just needed to get a tune done. And it's quite rare for things to come together as easily as it did for me on this occasion. So let me just go. like that there, I just time stretched again within Reaper itself, took the O-line, stretched it out, which is something you could do with no problem, really quick and easy. I've set quite a lot of stuff up for my own personalization. So I have this action menu in Reaper where every single option that's in Reaper is available to set up to do triggered by a key press or a MIDI action, whatever you want. So there's a couple of things I've set up to like bounce audio down to a new file with effects on it, change track colors, reverse. You saw me do that earlier. I just literally hit R and it reverses the sample because I do a lot of reversing. Yeah, there's some stuff I do for automation. So like where there's something I want to automate, I will just select the area like this, hit this. If I do Shift and A, then splits that whole section I've selected out, so I can hit it in whatever way I want. This one is just the volume, but I do quite often automation, and as you'll see, not super complicated automation. This bus here, which is the effects bus, I've done a fair bit because I've had to, because the levels were going over. So if I just show you, some of this mixer setup won't be what I normally have, because I'm streaming this, so I've had to send out some other bits. Like there's a limit here. I had to put the limiter on, otherwise you'd get deafened, it'll distort. But quite often use span on the output so I can see what's going on. There's this HDPX plugin which I use, which emulates like real world in headphones. I don't really use headphones. I've got a soundproof studio, but if I ever need to or want a reference. And then we've got the Brits and Bus, which is on all my channels earlier. So with Brits and Bus, you basically, this is your main bus, goes on your stereo output. Ooh. Oh. Unconfigured. Yeah, there we go. So this is the one on the stereo bus. So all of my 8 buses are listed here. Each of my 8 buses has a bus Britson. They're assigned groups. So each bus has its own group. Then every channel that I have, I then assign to a group, to a bus even, sorry. I then put a Britson channel on and I assign it to that group bus. Basically what it does, it lets a very small amount of signal bleed between the different channels, just like it would in the real world in an analog desk. And what I find is it really makes it easy to mix sounds together. I quite often use this high pass because it's got a really nice light high pass filter. So if I put it on the drums, it does. I'll mute my microphone. Maybe I'm going to mute everything. Let me try that again. Kind of, it's a really sort of not too aggressive high pass filter. So again, it's good for removing bottom end and having getting more headroom. Dan X Nation saying it's a bit glitchy. Okay. Maybe it's my noise gate that I set up. Maybe that was a bad idea. Let's try that. Let me know, Dan, if that sounds any better. I've gone a long way without being told by anyone. Some random glitches when you're using mid samplers and MIDI for some reason. Doesn't happen at all with audio. I reckon if I turn the noise gate off, you'll be able to hear me properly. Let's have a look. Okay, so yeah, should be going straight in now. Wow, look at all that background noise. Microphone picks up everything in this place. I'll bring the limiter down as well, just in case it's clipping. Abstract Drums asking me how I get the sub to sit nicely with the low end of the Amen. Yeah, well, so that's quite a common issue that people have, and I think it's quite easy to overcomplicate things. Again, it's always overcomplicated because there's so much advice out there, but I can simplify it, I reckon. So let me just remember to solo myself. So there's my bass and drums bus, and I'm just gonna loop this up. So like each individual bass channel that's going on there, they're all pretty much set at 0, but what I do is I gain stage. I actually set my levels before the channel. So for instance, this here, so these two bass channels here, so they're, hold on. Let me just check which one's which. Can't actually tell. I think it's this one. No, that'd be drums. Right, so that channel there with that bass, which is really distorted, it goes -5 is the loudest it goes on the individual channel, but on the bus, let's just see how that's coming. Yeah, nothing on the bus has actually gone over 5 dB. In fact, between those two basses, they don't go over -7 dB on that particular part of the tune. Now, there are parts of the tunes where certain things happen at the same time and it all goes mental, and that's why I've had to do so much automation on this tune, like the effects and stuff. But anyway, answer to your question, you just got to watch your levels, and the best place to adjust the gain, not messing about with channels. Most of my channels are around 0, but I actually do it on the input. So sometimes, I think I showed earlier, I showed an EQ. There was nothing going on with the EQ, but I had the gain turned down. So I used the EQ to control the gain, didn't actually use it to do any EQing. But yeah, so my everything goes into my bus, and on my bus I don't use limiting really, and I only ever use compression for flavor. I never really use it to control anything, because I do all that. I'm a control freak anyway, so I make everything how I want it to be level wise before. So if I have to, I'll bounce it to audio and I'll fix everything, and then I'll use it. But on this particular bass, I've got quite a duck-in bass, I think, a duck-in compressor. So if you look at the red, so wherever there's any movement on the bass, it's actually, the compressor's actually clamping down in this particular example, but it's not normal for me to do that. So if I show you in the frequency analyzer what it looks like, I think that would be the best way. So like my peak of all the bass notes, they peak at like 100, 80, 70, 60, 50 and 40. So what I've then done, and I don't know this for sure yet, but we'll see in a second, I've probably not got those frequencies very prominent in the drums. So yeah, so the most of the weight of the drums is actually 100 hertz up. You know, there's a bit of a kick there, but at 80, but that's quite quiet compared to the bass, sorry. And the reason for that is this Amen is a lot less weighty than I'd usually have drums, but because it's a sine bass and it's running underneath the tune, I basically you have to notch these things out of the actual other sounds. I've even done side chaining before. You'd never know I'd use a side chain, but I'll duck things out when the kick kicks in, and you literally wouldn't notice it if you had them side by side. If you turn them on and off, you don't really notice, but it does affect the levels. I hope I've not given you a too long-winded answer there. But yeah, I've heard this tune out and the bass is ridiculously weighty. But you know, listening back to it, it doesn't sound it. It's just been mixed in a way that kind of is right for the tune. So, but yeah, if you wanted punchy drums, you wouldn't be able to have a bass line like that. It's just not really possible without ridiculous side chaining and over compressing everything and limiting everything. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, the drum bus, I'm just going to go over that because what I do on literally my drum bus 90% of the time. The one rule I do have though is I might say I do something all the time, but there's always a time that I don't do it, so take that with a pinch of salt. But this is my favourite thing on my UAD that I use. Basically the Neve 88 RS. I've only got a dual UAD, so I can only run 1 or 2 instances of this before it's filled. Let me have a look. So I've only got a few UAD plugins running, but yeah, I've nearly maxed out the DSP on it. If I turn this plugin off, it's not too bad actually. That's 25%. Must be just what I'm using on there. But yeah, oh man, it's changed. Let me just undo this. Something went wrong there. So yeah, on all my drum buses, I use this Neve 88 RS, and the only thing I use on it, nothing, no EQ, no limiter, no compressor. I use the mic preamp, so I switch it to microphone level so it distorts, and then I dip it by 20 dB and I overdrive it, so it basically limits but sounds decent. So let me just show you. If I turn it off, in this case you can't really hear it, but let me show you with it over the top. It's like Dom and Roland style. But yeah, you don't get that on many plugins. It's only because it's UAD and because it's very power hungry that you get the nice breaking up of distortion. You wouldn't get that on, well, I've not seen any native plugins that do that in any good way. Anything I've seen it on that's supposed to do it sounds nasty usually. So yeah, so my drum bus, I always overdrive it with a mic preamp. You know, there may be an easy way of doing this, there may be a cheaper way of doing this because it's a £300 plugin, but I use it. And yeah, quite often if I want distortion on something, I'll run it through this plugin and I'll bounce it to audio so I don't have to keep the plugin running. So yeah, I'm always efficient with this stuff because back in the day with an Atari and a 950, yeah, you had to be efficient. Every tune would be like a floppy or less. My Atari disc I could probably fit 30 sequences on, but Akai I could only fit 1 disc per tune, and sometimes you'd reuse things and whatever. But yeah, that's always stayed with me. I've always been tried to be efficient. My tunes can sometimes end up being like 200 meg. Sometimes they can be 5 gig. It does depend on how I'm working. But this tune, for instance, there's not a lot of samples going on. So in fact, let me have a look at the size of the folder, and I think the folder might even have some bounces in there, so it's actually bigger than it needs to be. If I check this one, 1.2 gig for that particular thing. But yeah, there's backups in there. There's old files. I quite often move stuff out and try and tidy things up. But yeah, there you go, the sample folder, 5 meg. So that's the Amen, the basses, 5 meg. What else we got there? That's the old Cubase project from what? No, that one was modified in 2016. But yeah, that would have been like from 2005, I think it was, something like that. Yeah. So I think that's about it really for tonight. I do want to set up another one. We'll see how this comes out and what it sounds like. See what I can learn from it. I definitely need to find out how to route my microphone without having to keep soloing it, because that's a right pain in the ass. But yeah, I'm just going to let this, just going to actually play this from the beginning. Why not? Just in case no one's heard it. I might have broken a few things because I've been pissing around with levels, but let's just... The good thing about unlimited undos, I guess. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And enjoy.